Wow.
We're up, Dick.
That's the way it works.
Welcome to the October 14th, 2024 meeting of the Sandusky City Commission. We'll have an invocation offered by myself, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Lord, we seek your wisdom and guidance. Protect us from self-interest and narrow agendas. Teach us humility. Make us hungry for your will. Be with us in our discussions and guide our decisions so we always do what is right and just. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Myers, you call the roll.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Crable.
Here.
Ms. Fargo.
Here.
Mr. Waddington.
Here.
Mr. Brady.
Here.
Mr. Murray.
Here.
Mr. Bajali.
Here.
Mr. Kuntz.
Here.
Commissioners, you have before the minutes of our meeting of October the 1st, 2024. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
What?
I move that we accept the minutes of the September 23rd meeting as presented.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Without objection, that motion will be approved, and I'm hearing no objection, so that motion is approved. I'm going to jump out of line here on this agenda. I know that the swearing of the firemen appears to be down below a couple of our presentations tonight, but because we're tying up so many of our fine folks in the corner of the room, I'm going to ask Chief Orszak to administer that oath and swear in our new firemen.
Anybody in the family wants to take pictures and stand up, feel free. I should raise your right hand. I, Nathan Yule, recognizing my fundamental duty as a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department, do solemnly swear to uphold the standards of my profession by safeguarding the lives and property of our citizens against the threat of fire and disaster.
I, Nathan Yule, recognize my fundamental duty as a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department, do solemnly swear to uphold the standards of my profession by safeguarding the lives and property of our citizens against the threat of fire and disaster.
I promise to obey the duly constituted laws of the United States of America, the state of Ohio, the city of Sandusky, and to accept the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, leadership, and trust, to be honored for as long as I remain a firefighter of the city of Sandusky Fire Department.
I promise to obey and duly constitute the laws of the United States of America, the state of Ohio, the city of Sandusky, and accept the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, leadership, and trust, to be honored for as long as I remain a firefighter of the city of Sandusky Fire Department.
I will continually strive to serve our community and to be an influence for good for my fellow officers and firefighters to the best of my ability, so help me.
I will continually strive to serve our community and to be an influence for good for my fellow officers and firefighters to the best of my abilities, so help me. Congratulations.
Chief, do you have some background you want to share?
Yes, Nathan is currently a City of Norwalk resident. Prior to working for Sandusky Fire Department, he worked for the Fostoria Fire Department in Sandusky County EMS for 3 years. He's a Marine Corps veteran. He's got his fire certification. He's a certified paramedic, and he's going to be on number 2 shift under the direction of Captain Matt Lesh. Congratulations, Nathan.
Nathan, were you the fireman that my grandson was spraying with that hose last week?
Yes, sir.
You've got off to a good start, I can tell you, with him. I can tell you that. Thank you.
That's a low man duty, so.
All right. I, Sean Berry, recognizing my fundamental duty as a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department, do solemnly swear to uphold the standards of my profession by safeguarding the lives and property of our citizens against the threat of fire and disaster.
I, Sean Berry, recognizing my fundamental duty as a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department, do solemnly swear to uphold the standards of my profession by safeguarding the lives and property of our citizens against the threat of fire and disaster.
I promise to obey the duly constituted laws of the United States of America, the state of Ohio, City of Sandusky, and to accept the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, leadership, and trust, to be honored for as long as I remain a firefighter of the City of Sandusky Fire Department.
I promise to obey the duly constituted laws of the United States of America, the state of Ohio, the city of Sandusky, and accept the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, leadership, and trust, to be honored for as long as I remain a firefighter of the city of Sandusky Fire Department.
I will continually strive to serve our community and to be an influence for good for my fellow officers and firefighters to the best of my ability, so help me.
I will continually strive to serve our community and to be an influence for good for my fellow officers and firefighters to the best of my ability, so help me.
Sean's originally from Wakeman, Ohio. He spent about a year working for the Willard Fire Department prior to being hired by Sandusky Fire Department. He's got his fire certification, and he's scheduled to finish paramedic school in November. He's going to be placed on number 3 shift under the direction of Captain Jim Green. Welcome to the city of Sandusky, Sean.
Thank you.
To the firemen that are with us tonight, gentlemen, you're dismissed.
Thank you so much.
It's nice that they showed up. Yeah. Really good.
Before we move to our first of 2 presentations tonight, I'd like to acknowledge a young lady who has been shadowing our government for the last few days, both with Chief Horsack and with myself. She is Delilah Wilkin in the center of the room. She's a Perkins student, soon to be headed for Bowling Green State University main campus and seeking a degree in business administration. So we're delighted to have you here, Delilah.
Thank you.
And by the way, that family stretches back 100 years in this community. She is from the family of the Wilkin Sheet Metal family, so good plug for them, for those folks too. We have a presentation tonight on potential programming for our new rec center. That presentation is going to be delivered by Ms. Gilson. Ms. Gilson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to share the proposed programming offerings visitors may expect to experience when utilizing the Sandusky Recreation Center at its opening. Before we begin, it's important to understand how we got here, where we've been, where we are, and where we're heading. Discussion about the development of a recreation center for the community has been growing for decades. In October of 2021, the increase in admission taxes, a historic agreement with Cedar Fair, carved out or dedicated revenue for the construction of such a facility. In early 2023, the city partnered with Branstetter Carroll to conduct a needs analysis with public engagement, a site study, and a concept design. In fall of 2023, with the site and concept design determined, the voters of Sandusky approved a property tax levy to help fund operations of the facility. In spring of 2024, City Commission created a Rec Center Advisory Committee to develop a set of recommendations on programming and amenities for the facility. After weeks of thoughtful deliberation, the recommendations were approved by City Commission in late summer and triggered the release of a request for qualifications for services of a criteria architect to design the building. Simultaneously, the recreation staff were tasked with the important project to create a proposed programming curriculum. The recreation staff team of Linda Carroll, Administrative Assistant, Tandra Frisbee, Youth Program Manager, Ryan Fry, Recreation Programs Manager, Chris Mailing, Recreation Projects Coordinator, and Jason Whirling, Recreation Superintendent, have met over the past several weeks and evaluated the aforementioned processes as well as current offerings, the Sandusky Rec program at Mills, to help formulate a schedule of proposed programs for users to enjoy. In a moment, and on behalf of my rec center colleagues, Jason Whirling and I will dive deeper into the program offerings, draft schedules, and demonstrate how the activities will flow throughout the building. What you will hear today is based on those recommendations of the Rec Center Advisory Committee and from the concept design that was developed through public and staff input by concept design partner Branstetter Carroll. I'd like to thank the rec staff for their willingness to be leaders, thinkers, dreamers, but most important, realists. We look at what is being presented today as a starting point and welcome your feedback, comments, and suggestions. Program offerings are broken into 4 categories. Each are color-coded throughout the remainder of the presentation and are distinguishable by the color on the mock schedule and building flow diagrams you'll see shortly. Each category has offerings that we propose providing for visitors of the Recreation Center on opening day. Understanding that programming changes based on user demand and operating capacity, we will be nimble and we will respond to feedback. Health and wellness encompasses offerings to all Recreation Center visitors. The program area is broken further into 3 groupings. Group exercise classes such as Zumba, high-intensity interval training, spinning, aerobics, and yoga will be available at times consistent with industry standards. Indoor track and fitness center, both offering visitors access to strength and cardio equipment and amenities catering to their personal fitness regimen, and activities including open gym, lectures, crafts, and clubs. Whether a visitor would like to shoot around on an open court, hear a discussion on healthy eating, learn floral arranging, or attend a specialized group such as a weight loss challenge club, we intend to make the experience well-rounded and beneficial. Senior enrichment is targeted to the over 55 visitor to the Recreation Center. Like health and wellness, the program area is broken into 3 groupings where seniors will enjoy activities and events geared toward their expressed need and request. To start, we propose offerings that are consistent with other rec centers and what we've heard from partners during our listening and engagement sessions. Group exercise classes such as strength and stretching, tai chi, yoga, tap fit, and dance classes will be available at times consistent with industry standards. Indoor track and fitness center offering seniors access to strength and cardio equipment, amenities catering to their personal fitness regimens, and activities, including senior-centric lectures on topics such as retirement planning or current events, hobby clubs like card playing or puzzles, music-related activities, all with the intention of giving seniors the opportunity to connect with one another in meaningful and inspiring ways. Youth enrichment is a cornerstone of Sandusky's current rec programming. This proposed programming plan carries over and expands offerings thoughtfully, threading the leaders of tomorrow into today's programming at the new rec center. Skills camps, helping youth learn and hone their ability to participate in league play or school teams is the intention of this offering. Building the athletes of tomorrow is important, and it's a goal worth reaching for. We intend to offer multi-week sports camps such as soccer, basketball, volleyball, flag, football, t-ball, and more at various times throughout the year. After-school programming. From the beginning of the school year until summer starts, Sandusky Rec staff will provide programming for school-age youth ages K through 8. Large group activities that promote and provide movement and exercise will be offered. Also, exercises coupled with more passive activities such as sewing, chess, podcasting, and hair braiding classes aim to nourish the body and the mind of tomorrow's leaders. Out-of-school programming will also focus on educational development with homework assistance, reading, science, math-focused clubs. We also intend to partner with outside agencies to offer learning lectures on topics such as positive mental health, basic finance, and civic involvement. Break camps and special events. At specific times where school is out of session, the Recreation Center will be the host site for summer, winter, and spring break camp activities. These camps offer similar and expanded large group and passive activities for attendees. Lastly, youth event-based programming such as the Jackie Mama Collins Track Meet, the Whiteman Weber Safety Town, and Community Collaboration Day, all important time-honored traditions within our programming offerings will continue. Host locations will be examined and determined in the future. If possible to incorporate within the rec center, we will propose doing so. If necessary to partner with other organizations to host at outside facilities, those relationships will be formed. And finally, leagues. Sandusky Rec Center will offer visitors the opportunity to participate in league sporting. Examples of league play from demand we heard during our outreach session and from our knowledge of league play being sought at other locations outside of Sandusky, we intend to offer right here as a starting point. For adults and seniors, leagues such as volleyball, basketball, kickball, pickleball, and tennis. For youth, flag football, basketball, soccer, and volleyball. Jason Whirling will now walk through examples of schedules we envision in the months of July and October as the rec center opens. He will also help you visualize the building space usage and how the programs flow in his presentation.
Thanks, Colleen. And thanks to Chris and Linda, Tandra, and Ryan as we met for the past few weeks to come up with kind of the basic a week of programming in the rec center in July and a week of programming in the rec center in October. The next slide, it looks like a lot, but I'll explain kind of how these things all work and fit together in a week. And what we did was we built these programs as a draft form in our rec desk programming. So we have online programming or an online program that we can kind of put all these in there and kind of fit them into a weekly schedule. So you'll see the green with health and wellness, blue with senior enrichment, red with youth enrichment, and orange is leagues. Now you also see a yellow component in there. That was something that we discussed, that at some point there might be rooms that are rented in the facility, or a gym might be rented for some group to come in and use that space. So that's what the yellow is at this point in the presentation. Now this is a typical summer, July, middle of July, when we do have the summer break camp going on in the rec center. That's why you'd see the red in the middle of the afternoon from 10 to 2. That's our summer break camp that's programmed in there. You also see some fitness classes that are in the morning session, and then throughout the early morning and into the afternoon, we have some senior programming with the blue from that 9 to 12 time. Now, as you see the July week, it does shift. I'll show you here with what would happen in October when the kids are back in school. Say in October, like a week right now, we plug the same programs into our rec desk schedule. We actually built the draft concept of the rec center with the different rooms that are in the facility, and we program those spaces into our rec desk. Now you can still see a couple yellow areas there that would be rentals that we might have in the building. But as we get into October, you'd see some fitness classes in the morning, senior programming going on in the later morning, early afternoon, and then the youth programs with that out-of-school program coming in right about that 3:30, 4 o'clock. That extends through the night to where you'd see maybe a skills camp or a league that could be adult, could be a youth league happening in the orange in the evening. So whether it's a night like tonight, people from this commission might even be going into the rec center to do a league after the meeting's over. So this is our rec center design concept that we've been working through. This is what came from the work with Branstetter Carroll. It includes the 2 gymnasiums, one of which would be a multi-purpose floor. Those gymnasiums could be separated, as you can see. Might be curtains that would be there to separate those courts to even further If you have 2 courts being used for a league, you'd have 1 court used for open play. It includes the 2 fitness classrooms, 3 activity spaces, the fitness area, which would be above those fitness classes, and that fitness area would include your free weights, your workout equipment, and that's on the 2nd floor above the fitness classes. The indoor track for running and walking, locker rooms, and then the offices to house Sandusky Recreation. Now, what we did is we took the design concept, we implemented the programs that we had come up with and put in the calendar, and we took an average day and we picked a Monday in October because we were presenting on a Monday in October. So as you get into your daily programming in the facility, this would be from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And what you would see is kind of, it'd be a little bit quieter in the morning with school being in session, and you'd have a health and wellness class going on in that fitness class. Now, what we did want to add is to show what parts of the facility would still be open for patrons to use. Say somebody wanted to, play some basketball with their grandkid, or wanted to get into the fitness area and maybe start, to squat, get up to squatting 1,000 pounds would be something that somebody might be doing in the weight room.
Yeah.
Just parts of the facility, people walking the track, people using the courts, and people using the other spaces that aren't used for programming at that time. And this is from 6 to 10 a.m. Now, as we get into the middle of the afternoon, or middle of the morning and early afternoon, you'll see more senior programs going on. And those senior programs could be anything from a chair tap or a chair yoga going on in the fitness class space, like a financial planning session, retirement planning session, maybe put on by serving our seniors in the first activity space, or maybe an art class for seniors in that third activity space. You could see pickleball going on in that second gym at that time, and again, the purple area would be more open for patrons during that time when school is in session. So you're not going to have as many kids unless it's a break camp or something like that, but this is what we'd see on a normal Monday in October. Now, as we get into the afternoon, 3:30, the kids are getting out of school and they're coming into the rec center. You're going to see the activity spaces start getting filled up with some youth programs, like when the out of school kids are coming in, they would maybe all come into that area, and then we would break that area into 2 or 3 different areas for them to do different programs through that. We'd have the multi-purpose gym set for basketball, dodgeball, kickball, volleyball, any of those things that we normally do right now with the out-of-school program. And then you can see how much of the facility is still open for patron use while those programs are going on. So we get later into the evening, you're going to see more fitness classes going on. You're going to see, could be a Zumba or aerobics class in one of the fitness classes. You'll see cardio or spin class in the other fitness class. As our kids from the out-of-school program would be heading out, you might have leagues starting in that gym, that second gym. You would have youth skills going on in that first gym. And then, again, as said in the other slides, the weight room, the fitness equipment, and the track would still be open for patron use throughout the evening. And with that, that's kind of a given day in our proposed Sandusky Rec Center. If there's any questions.
Questions or comments, Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
when I looked at this over the weekend, the 6 to 9, that's a lot of hours. So that's going to be, we're going to have probably monitors in the building. If you open at 6 in the morning, somebody's in the weight room, they get hurt, or I'm just throwing this out, I've seen that happen at the old YMCA. Or if they're playing basketball, are we going to have, I know it's down the road, but that's something we got to think about, not just an employee that's going to do a program, but someone that's going to have to be like a watchdog, okay, for safety reasons.
Sure. We foresee having staff, whether it's a front desk attendant that would be at the front desk, but also staff that may rove the building at the time, and they would check those facilities and check the rooms, basically doing rounds. Another rec center I used to work at, we
And
had
then
that.
my follow-up would be, I didn't see anything about the swimming. I know I heard that's delayed a little bit at the high school, that project now, but will that be component we're going to be adding on once they open. We'll be able to figure the hours out for them also.
Yeah, the pool was, we were just programming for the rec center, but I'm not really sure what.
Well, that's going to be part of the, so too.
Additional comments or questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Murray?
thoughtful work. Thank you. This is what I had expected it would look like roughly, but you've put some fine points on this, and appreciate the collective work of the folks in the rec department. It's a good presentation, and as you point out, it's a start. This is going to be a work in progress, always will be. The budget will be a work in progress. The programming will be a work in progress. It's something we need to feel through as we move forward, but if we do it in good faith, the way that the rec department has, I'm confident we'll find a result that works for the entire community. So thank you.
Additional comments, Mr. Coons?
Hey, Jason, you can see that I got these spectacles on, so sometimes it's hard for me to see. But, and maybe I missed this, when you were talking about the weights, I didn't really see it identified on that chart. Is that going to be on the second floor?
Yes, I'll go back to. So if the fitness area, if you look at the, oh, sorry, they can't, you guys, all right, you got me? So that fitness area, that would be the second floor that's above the fitness classes, that would include your regular fitness equipment and free weight area.
Gotcha. Okay. The other question I had was related to, because I know it was a question that continued to come up in the advisory meetings as it related to those after-school programs that we currently have at Mills. Was there a talk about exactly how some of that would fit? I know that we didn't include it because there's so much that has to be done within this space, but can you share a little bit about what that might look like ahead of time, even though I know you have to work out all those logistics?
Sure. The multi-purpose space and the multi-purpose components of this facility are very important in how we move from a building that might have 16 classrooms that might be so specialized that just because you have the space to be able to do that with the way that's set up. So the multi-purpose space, we might have Erie Metro Parks come in like we do currently on a Tuesday. That same space might be used later on with the health department coming in for a program that they do on a Thursday. So so not having those spaces and having the ample storage to be able to, if right now we have a chill space, it's kind of a place for the kids to play a PS5 or a Wii or something like that. Having those, when we were all in high school, the TVs on carts type thing, seeing those where you just wheel those in, and that room might be something. The activity space might be something on Monday, something different on Tuesday. But when you break out into those sessions, a lot of the kids are going to the multi-purpose room to play dodgeball or basketball, but we're converting those spaces over as those programs are going on.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Additional comments, Mr. Cribble?
Yes, Commissioner Waddington kind of touched on this, but I'll ask a little more direct question. Have you had an opportunity to actually put together an operating budget based on, what you're proposing here today, and utilities and insurance and all the other things that go with it?
Sure. I believe that's in the.
I think Ms. Gilson may have that answer.
Yeah, Commissioner, we have a very early draft that we're working on. That's next phase. Our goal was to get this proposed programming to you all, and that's where we will dive in next.
I'm always interested in what the numbers are, so.
I think this is a wonderful presentation, and thank you for it. And I know a lot of people pulled in the same direction to make this happen. One of the things that I think the most important part of your presentation was your statement about the flexibility of the programming. And I'm glad to hear that, because I think the reality is this is such a dynamic opportunity for us. A program that we start out in year 1 or year 2 or year 3 may not be in existence in year 4, 5, or 6. It's going to depend a lot on what people want to do, how the attendance is. We certainly are not going to continue to have taekwondo if 3 people show up. And I think you have indicated a flexibility to meet that challenge, to be able to pivot in a direction that makes sense for our entire community. So thank you for being willing to go that route.
And to be ready for the next pickleball, like pickleball 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't know what pickleball is, but be ready for
Exactly, yeah.
something like that.
Ms. Fargo.
Mr. Chair. Thanks, Jason. That was finally so nice to see it come alive in a plan that we've all been asking so many questions, and you guys have been very patient with us, so thank you very much. I know a lot of people are going to ask me, you see the walking track going around the whole time. Is that going to be, let's say, the kids are there after school and they're in half of that gym, but the track continues to go around, right? Are you going to be able to walk while that's going on?
Definitely.
Okay, great. And then are the kids currently there over at Mills until 9 currently, every day?
So about 6:30 or 7, depending on when they get picked up. Yep.
Okay, what was the thought process around that extension it to 9 o'clock? I'm just thinking about, school, it's a school year, kids getting home, doing what they need to do, getting prepared for their next day.
We would still continue, the out of school would still end at 6:30 or 7.
Okay.
That was just if there was like a skills camp or some,
Okay.
maybe it's for older kids, and then the adult leagues would come in about that time too.
All right, great, thank you.
Additional comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Jolly.
relative to what Commissioner Kuntz asked, was there any consideration to put in the weights and that equipment on the first floor? As far as the load and...
I don't think that's set. I mean, this is still our design
not.
concept.
This is a design concept.
Okay.
That could very well
That could
change
go on
once we
first.
get Criteria Architect on board.
All right. And do you anticipate having enough staff currently to handle all this programming, or do you think you'll need additional staff once it's built out?
Having a facility that's open this many hours and it's or proposed hours, yeah, you would definitely have to have facility staff that would, open and close the facility. And as Commissioner Waddington mentioned, having somebody that's doing those checks through the facility, like we'd love to utilize the staff that we currently have for some of those roles as well. But once we get into the planning for it and knowing exactly what's going on, we would have additional staff.
Okay, thank you.
Additional comments? Thank you for the presentation. We look forward to the next step.
Thank you.
And I think our next presentation this evening is on our downtown parking plan, and that's going to be delivered by our chief planner, Aaron Blair.
It's a tough one to follow. I'm thinking about pickleball leagues and playing basketball or going to a HIIT workout, and now we're going to look at a lot of parking data. So I hope you're excited for that. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity to come back and present to you the results from our downtown parking study. This is building on previous work. We talked quite a bit about the 2014 parking study during the Columbus Avenue design and the construction approvals process. And through that process, we really heard a call from the community to focus on downtown parking. So this is just one big step in that focus, and there will be more to come. As you recall, we drafted a 2024-2025 parking plan with some distinct goals to accomplish as part of that work. And in order to really form strategies and tactics to achieve our goals, we have to understand the inventory of our parking. So of the strategies in that parking plan, the parking counts were one of the first things we needed to do. And so that is what we've been working on here for since April. So from April 24th through August, we counted parking 18 times downtown. We counted 6 weekday during the day, 3 weekday evening, 5 weekend evening, and 4 special event holidays. So for comparison, in 2014, they counted, I think, 4 or 6 times. So this is a robust study, and we were able to really get clear results on each of those timeframes. You're looking at the map of the study area, and all the little circles are the number of drone photos that we took of downtown. So we had a drone path, and it took the same photo from the same vantage point every time, and then we counted every single car parked and every single photo for those 18 counts. That 31 blocks of parking was 1,990 public parking spaces. And this presentation focuses specifically on the public parking spaces. I can get more into private ADA parking based on your questions today and what you'd like to see next, and when we have specific strategies where we need to understand that data. Those 51 drone photos, and we took 7 garage photos per parking count, created 1,054 lines of data. And so within that total study area, we also broke that into 8 summary areas that created 324 summary data tables, and that's what I'll walk through with you today. Just kidding, I'm not going to show you 324 study tables. I did break it down a little more than that. And before we get into that, I really want to orient you with the space and get you understanding why we chose the study area and how that's important to have that data. So we're going to just get a little oriented. First, parking is infrastructure. Nobody comes here because we have parking spaces. They come here because we have beautiful sunsets and fun activities and delicious restaurants. So that's important to focus as the central reason why we have parking is why we have water lines and stormwater management, because we have that essential infrastructure in order to create this amazing, vibrant place. When you're thinking about parking strategy and decision-making, it's important to kind of understand that the general public, which is, the broad number of people, including older adults, will walk about 5 minutes to their destination. It's about 30 seconds to walk half a block in a downtown setting. If that walk is comfortable, interesting, and safe, people will walk on average about 5 minutes. They'll walk even further if they really want to get somewhere, like a ball game or a concert. Importantly, we also need to see parking spaces right in front of the front doors of places because of folks that are swooping in for a few minutes to grab a coffee or a takeout from a restaurant. So we also need to see on-street turnover parking spaces, and about 10% of parking spaces should be available at any given time. So if you're at 90% utilization, 10% of your parking spaces are available, you're still doing okay. So this is the circle you see on the screen. This is the map of the downtown that we studied. This is called a walk shed. From edge to edge, this is a 10-minute walk, about a 10-minute walk for your average person. Again, not every single person, but it gives us a parameter to talk about it. So from about Shoreline Park to the Paper District Marina. From the edge to the center, so from about Shoreline Park to the State Theater, is about a 5-minute walk. If you zoom that in to a 5-minute walk across the edge, you're going from about Clubhouse number 3 to Shorehouse Tavern. And so from edge to center, you're going from about Clubhouse number 3 to the State Theater. If you're at the mall, you're going from about the parking lot to the center of the mall with that 2-minute walk, just to get some orientation on what that looks like. For Meijer, it's about the edge of the parking lot to the center of the store. At Walmart, it's about the edge of the parking lot to the center of the store. At the hospital, it's about the edge of the guest parking to the center of the hospital. And if you go to Walmart and you walk and hit multiple aisles, you're easily going to walk about a third of a mile, so 10, 12 minutes of walking. And if you park at the fire station on Market Street and walk to the part of the pier, it's going to take you about 5 minutes. And I can tell you that nobody's parking over there because we have the data to show that. Similarly, if you park at the East Market lot, so that's out by the BGSU building and Tim Dorsey Fitness, and you walk to the State Theater, that's about a 5-minute walk, and that is a very underutilized area as well. The most important thing when we talk about walking in a downtown setting is that foot traffic supports our retail. So when you get people parking and walking those few minutes, they're walking past your storefronts, and that's where your retail can really thrive, is when you see that foot traffic. So if someone's parking at Washington Row to go to a State Theater event, that makes those storefronts along Washington Row and Columbus Avenue more viable because that foot traffic is passing through them. So that's just part of that philosophy in action. So that's the orientation. Now we're into the summary of the parking study results. This is the summary areas that we broke the downtown parking study area into. So you're going to see northwest, north central, northeast, et cetera, and we're going to walk through each of those. For context, the 2014 parking study area was about that north central and central areas combined. So on average, across that whole entire area, during the day, we have 1,333 available parking spaces at any given time. So that top left graphic, you can see 7.5 spaces empty, and 33% of those spaces are used. On a weekend evening, about 45% of our spaces are filled, so 55 open. That's more than 1,000 available public parking spaces across that study area, which is that 10-minute walk shed on a weekend evening. And this is just from April to August, so not in the winters, early spring. This is our high season, our busy, busy season. So we're going to look at each of those areas one by one. This is the Northwest, so you'll see Paper District Marina, and there's a public parking lot at Water Street in Decatur. There's 261 parking spaces, public parking spaces here, and 7 out of 10 of those are available at any given time. On an average, a special event date, there's still more than 100. On the Party at the Pier date that we counted, this was 94% full, so there was only 16 available spaces in this area, so it's a popular place. It's close to the pier, people know about it. And I'm not going to go through all that data. We can come back to any of this that you want to see. I just don't want to keep you here for an hour. I don't know if everybody wants to talk about parking for an hour. So. The North Central, so we shift to the center. We've got, this is the bulk of the public parking kind of concentrated. We're Jackson Street Pier, the Jackson Street parking lot. We've got the Wayne Street parking lot and the East Water Street parking lot. 6 out of 10 of those spaces are utilized at any given time on average. So they're the most convenient, highest in demand spaces. And on that average special event holiday, 8 out of 10 of those spaces are being used. At the Party at the Pier that we counted the Rumors concert, 97% of these were full, and so we had 20 available spaces in this area. So again, it's the highest demand, most convenient. And I think when we hear there's no parking downtown, folks are talking about this area of town. And we'll see that while they're on those dates, you know, we want it to be really full on Party at the Pier because we want lots of people to come enjoy that event. Even on a weekend evening, 25% of these spaces were available when we counted. Shifting a little east, we're at Shoreline Park. There's 132 public parking spaces here, including on street. And this is a very low utilization. I'd encourage folks that want a predictable place to park and come downtown. This is a great option because the pathway is right there. It's a very comfortable and interesting walk along the water into the center of the city. So now we've shifted a little south and to the west. We're over by the fire station. So this is by the Sandusky Register building and Port Sandusky. So of those 135, 102 of those spaces were available at any given time. And even during those special events, more than like 7 3/4, 7 out of 10 of those spaces were available. So there were 57 spaces available over here at that Party at the Pier concert. So this is a bank of parking that's super close that people are not using. So for any of you locals listening that want a predictable parking space, here's another good option for you as well. Shifting into the center, this is 505 parking spaces. This includes the county parking garage in East and West Washington Row. And East and West Washington Row have a lot of capacity. So there's 505 parking spaces in this area. And still on a weekend evening, so on a Friday night, Saturday night, on our busiest season, half of those parking spaces were available. Shifting a little bit east, this includes the East Market lot that I mentioned before by Tim Dorsey's and the BGSU building. And 8 out of 10 of those were available at any given time, and even on a special event. There was a ton of capacity over here. And I'll mention this is high season for downtown because of the visitors that come see us, and we all, invite our family and friends to be here in the summer because it's really fun. Also, the students that are at BGSU are at Cedar Point or there are other internships working. So I would expect this area to be a little bit more full in the fall and the spring, but in the summer, it's a great bank of parking for our customers. Going south of Washington Street, there's 170 public parking spaces. They're all on street, and those are very low utilization. Their peak day was actually on a Wednesday in the morning, because that's when something was happening that a lot of people were at the courthouse, I think. So we will see, after the Columbus Avenue project is finished, we're really redoing that Washington Street crossing. It'll be a lot more comfortable and safe to cross Washington Street, so I would expect this parking to be better utilized after that project is complete, and there's a lot of parking spaces over there. Looking at the county garage, on average, 4 out of 10 of those spaces were used. And even at the peak count, that was 67% full, so 3 out of 10 of those spaces were available. And as you'd predict, the first floor is the most utilized because it's the easiest to get to. People like the most convenient, easiest parking spaces. And that top floor was very, very low utilization at 7%, so almost always empty. So this is that total map again. So this is those total averages. And then I'm going to show you the peak. So this is that peak day party at the pier. And I mentioned the Northwest and North Central are really, really highly parked. So you can see that a lot of those spaces are full. But there's a lot of areas of town where there's still a lot of parking spaces within a 5-minute walk of that event. And when we see people parking there is when we're going to see those storefronts viable. Here's the lowest public parking. So this is Wednesday, April 24th at 8 a.m. So we had 1,504 open parking spaces, public parking spaces, and that's a lot of vacant land not being used. That's what we would expect things to look more like in October, November, February, March. And a lot of the times that we're trying to program and draw people to the city is because we have this great concentration in the summer, but we want to see our land utilized and people enjoying downtown Sandusky all year long. Here's the weekday daytime, weekday evening, weekend evening, and the special event holidays on average. And I can get back into any of those, I just didn't want to spend a ton of time on them. So some key takeaways. Our average utilization increased by about 10%. So when I added up that central area that they studied in 2014, about 10% more cars are here than were then. So we did grow, that's great, good findings. Across the full study area, our average utilization shows a lot of room for growth. And the highest demand areas, if you add that North Central and Central, it's really healthy. It's at 52% average, about 63% average on a weekend evening. And on the highest demand days, when you look at that full study area, the average utilization is about 40 to 70%, so that's still in really good standing as well. That North Central area is consistently the highest in demand. At peak, it's almost fully parked, and that's where we're really seeing that, and it's important to help people understand where else we have available to park, because it seems like everybody knows that central location towards the water, but there's lots of other parking spaces available. So this is really the first step. This is the data that we found and summarized. It's a huge body of work. So this is our first step, communicating that. We can do more analysis, look at block by block, and there's reason to do that in some areas, to have that on-street turnover, to think about the strategies that we're going to need into the future, the implications of how this will shift when Columbus Avenue is finished. You know, that's going to redistribute some parking to each side, you know, the east and west and the south, and we can create more analysis and results. So that's really what we're going to be working on next, also based on your direction, what we continue to hear from the community. So, thank you. It's a lot of data. I hope it was too intense, but happy to field any questions you have right now.
Questions or comments, commissioners? I can see that technology made your life a lot easier doing this, didn't it?
Can you imagine counting all those by hand? We could not have done it without the drone.
Thank God for a drone.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Vargo.
First of all, Aaron, thank you. I was fortunate enough to take part of Aaron's parking committee and be at those meetings, and they've worked really hard to try to figure this out, and you could sit next to a person here and thinks there's not a parking space downtown to be had, and you could sit next to this person and they say you can park and walk 5 miles to get wherever you want, you should do that. So everyone has a different opinion, but they are working really hard. I think the biggest concern is we have parking spaces. How do we get people to those parking spaces to understand that there's availability to do that? Apparently we've been a community of creatures of habit. We want to park right in front of where we want to go. But we do have an older population too, so I want to encourage us to continue to figure out our long-term parking, our residential parking, our employee parking. How do we direct people places that would be, you know, someone who's not parking in the middle of downtown on Columbus Ave when they're going to the island for the whole weekend and not coming back, you know. So I know you're working on that, so I appreciate that. The other concern, I think, that just thinking about right now, where we're so excited about this to start, but it is when you get out there and you look at the street, it's unnerving if you're a business owner, and you look at what's going to happen, and I hope we do everything possible to, and there's signs out there today, said I saw businesses are open, but doing everything we can possible, and I know we'll partner, I see Mackenzie out there with Destination Sandusky, to get people to know, to utilize our businesses on Market Street, wherever we can get everybody open, make sure we get people in those businesses as a community, because we just don't want to lose that going forward for the next however many months we have for it. So, but thank you very much.
Additional comments, Commissioner? Commissioner Coons?
This is a follow-up to what Kate said as it relates to different types of parking. One of them is emergency parking, right? When I say emergency, I mean those individuals who are part of that elderly population and those individuals who might be slightly disabled. I'm thinking that there was conversation about, and when I say emergency, maybe there is an opportunity to use some type of shuttle for peak attendance events where that might be a problem. I remember Mr. Waddington actually bringing that up, and I thought it was a good idea as it relates to those types of events where you just have so many people. And so, for instance, somebody who is elderly who doesn't get around like that, they'd have to get a parking spot. Let's say they came late and they got a parking spot that was that 15, 20, 25-minute walk, even though you've indicated that, the most was 15 or 20, but it's going to take them a little longer, right? So was there any discussion about that and what could be potentially done to serve that population of people?
That's certainly a strategy we can take a look at, and obviously that would have an operating budget and implications from that perspective. We've already also seen some entrepreneurship around that too. So we have the pedicab business, and we see them out at our events and helping people get along, get to and from their cars, and having their stacks of chairs and stuff going to the pier. So we do see some of that. I know that Witches Walk is also having shuttles because it's really important to them as their event to make sure that folks are getting in and around downtown. So hopefully a little bit of both the public and private sector will be thinking about people moving around.
Thank you.
Additional comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have noticed on Market Street between Wayne and Columbus that those spots always seem to be filled, and I just kind of assume that's from the Maroos building.
That I would expect is Maru's building, like the residents there, and the other buildings close in between there and City Hall have residential. There's also the office, so the Reminger office is there. And I would say that the data does confirm that. That's one that I think is worth a look at. Because that park, just from my memory counting it, was almost always over 90% full. So it's not really functioning well right now, and that's a good example of kind of a next step analysis to take a look at a strategy of how we can help at least 1 to 2 out of 10 of those be open at any given time to support our retailers.
Yeah, far be it from me to debate parking with you. This was an excellent report. And we've had this debate before, and the one comment that caught me was when you said people don't come for parking, they come for the amenities. But I think the opposite of that is true. People won't come for the amenities if it's too much of a hassle to park. So I just, I'm going to follow the data here. If the data says there's enough parking, I guess I'll defer to that.
No, and we're talking about the market of people that want to come to a downtown setting, which is a little bit of a difference than a preference of a market of people that really want a predictable parking space. They might prefer, like the market of folks that want to go to a Texas Roadhouse or an Olive Garden. They know that that parking lot is for that business establishment, and they're always going to get there. And they might not necessarily be the same individuals that want to come downtown for their dinners as well. And I'm not trying to typecast people, but it's part of the trend.
I do know, Mr. Chairman, I do see that Cleveland and Columbus and all those places always talk about, oh, we don't need that much parking. Parking isn't needed anymore. So that's kind of the school of thought these days. So we'll see. Thank you for your presentation.
I found one of your statistics to be very interesting, and that was even at the peak times in the most congested area, the north central area. Even in the peak times, we never exceeded the parking that was there. I think the closest we got was, maybe 96, 97%. And that's when we're packing them in on the pier. So I think that's a good sign. And I personally have not experienced that either. I've walked 5, 6, 7 minutes to get to the pier, and I've never not been able to find a parking space. Thank you for your hard work. Any residents with comments regarding tonight's agenda, please step to the podium and share with us your name and address and your agenda comments.
Mr. Mayor, Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. I have five items real quick. Item A on the consent agenda is we're paying for an AT&T project of relocating AT&T, I assume, communication lines for Churchwell Park. Maybe next explanation why we're paying for that. Item C, which is the shoreline grant for Lions Park. The supporting documents indicate this is the second time, it may even be the third time that we've applied for that grant for that. If you go back to 2006, there was a 38-page comprehensive plan that was conducted by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for Lions Park. If you guys don't have that information, I have it. I can pass it along to you if anybody wants it. Item number H would be the transit shelters. There's no indication of where those locations may be for those shelters. Item number 1, which is the annexation of 50 acres at or around Sports Force. Does that include the annexation of Sports Force into the city? And with that, the question would be, I assume that the 50 acres is part of the landing project. Do we have a concrete number on how much the landing project is going to cost us in the long run? And also, can we go over how much the city's paying to Perkins Township every year for that annexation for the property taxes that they've lost? Item number 5 is Monroe Street repaving, which the original item on the agenda did not indicate that includes 2,800 square feet or square length of sewer work. So I understand now where the sewer funds come into play on that. It's a heavily traveled street, so I'm curious how thick the blacktop's going to be on that Monroe Street. I noticed that a lot of the streets have gone to 1.5 inches instead of the normal in the past 3 inches. Are we going to do 1.5 inches on Monroe Street? And also, finally, whether or not the Monroe Street resurfacing is going to include any replacement of driveway approaches on private property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwanger. We'll attempt to answer those questions as the legislation comes before us. Additional audience comments on agenda items?
I think what the answer is going to be is that your rec center people are going to make a proposal to walk to their parking, and it'll be some part of that programming, and so I believe it's going to work out very well.
I know who you are, but if
I
I
will.
ask you to tell us, and we'll put it in the
Absolutely.
record.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Colleen Shea Murray, for those of you that do not know me. I've lived here for 30 years, and I'm proud to say that I've raised my daughters here, and it's been a wonderful place. Prior to my time here, I was in Columbus and worked in and around the State House for 10 years. And now I come to you, I'm a end-of-life hospice doula for Stein Hospice. I sit on the Ohio Turnpike Commission, but today I'm here before you as the campaign chair for the Sandusky State Theater. And I would like to, if I may have your permission, just read, and I will leave with Kathy copies of a statement that we presented and prepared.
Ms. Shea, I don't mean to interrupt you, but this section of our meeting is meant for items that are on our agenda.
Oh, I'm
I don't
sorry.
think we have the states that are on our agenda. We do have a section at the end of our meeting.
Oh, great.
That's for any comment regarding city visits.
Would you like me to do that, or I can also leave the comments with Kathy if that's better?
Leaving the comment, your choice. Your choice.
I'll wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional audience participation on any items on the agenda? If not, we'll move on. Commissioners, you have before us several communications from staff recommending various pieces of legislation. Can I have a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a motion on the second discussion? Without objection, the motion be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved. Commissioners, we have 8 items on the consent agenda this evening. Do any of you wish to move any of those items to the regular agenda? If not, Ms. Myers, will you present the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. President. Item A, approval of AT&T communication line relocation for Churchwell Park. Item B, approval of emergency centrifuge repairs at the wastewater treatment plants by Andritz. Item C, approval of Lions Park Coastal Resilience Grant application to Ohio Erie Commission. Item D, approval of retirement and sale of Sandusky Police Department K-9 program dog, Officer Vigo. Item E, approval of vehicle inspection services with Erie County General Health District Board of Health. Item F, approval to pay 2025 911 fees to Erie County. Item G, approval to accept 2 non-productive parcels into the land bank. Item H, approval of MOU with Erie County Health Department for transit improvements.
Commissioners, you've heard the ordinances and resolutions. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of these ordinances and the resolutions pursuant to Section 14 of the City Charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Josh, I see you're sitting in Mr. Klein's chair tonight, so I'm going to turn to you for if you can provide us with some answers to a question regarding item A. And the question was, why are we paying AT&T to relocate that line?
Yes, Mr. Brady, per the communication from Director Klein, he states in there that the consultant is coordinating with private utilities, and this amount is the cost from AT&T to relocate existing communication lines to poles that will be set by Ohio Edison, and the existing lines and poles are in conflict with what's planned utility-wise and park-wise in that area. So that's what this cost is for.
So the reality of it is, if we weren't making improvements in that area, no cost would be incurred.
Certainly.
But because we're making improvements in that area, this utility is incurring some cost. They expect to be paid for them.
Yes, exactly.
That's always been my understanding too, and that's perfectly, I think the utility is perfectly within the right to do that. And if they were not, I think Mr. Hastings would have advised us of that.
I would.
Additional question on item C, Mr. Sider, if you could address that comment there.
Yeah, so the Army Corps study from early 2000s doesn't address what this proposal. So this proposal to the Lake Erie Commission is really to dive in and study the existing breakwaters. So off the end of LaSalle, so if we were to extend LaSalle Street into the water, off the east edge of LaSalle right-of-way, there is a breakwater from the early 1900s, timber cribbed, stone filled, that goes out due north and then it goes west. And when the water subsides, you can actually see it currently. So part of this study is to check the viability of leaving that in place, building on top of it. It's already there. Secondarily, there's also some steel sheet piling, which is evident on a more regular basis near what's considered like the beach area. And so to study that and see if that can play into helping to protect the shoreline. At the end of the day, this grant application is to protect the shoreline of Lions Park. Lions Park has historically and recently, with the high water levels, seen a lot of loss. We've had a lot of land loss there. Recently been shored up with like armor stone, which is neat. It's fine, but longer term, if we can get something maybe in the water to protect that area, is really the better money spent and the better way to shore up the park, and really opens us up for future park, other amenities there. So, and that's been a longstanding item of interest as well.
And my understanding is this grant, we'll know on this grant somewhere before the first of the year, around the first of the year.
Yes, if I recall the last funding cycle, so we applied for the same grant in 2022. I do recall it being, them making announcements around the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a 100% grant, so.
Yes, excellent. Ms. Myers, you call the roll on that motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coontz?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance and resolution.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coontz?
Yes.
Those ordinances and resolution are approved. Ms. Myers, you present item number 1 on the regular agenda.
It is requested a resolution be passed accepting the annexation of certain territory to the city of Sandusky, Ohio pursuant to an annexation petition filed with and granted by the Board of County Commissioners of Erie County, Ohio, as provided for and in Ohio Revised Code Section 709.022, and declaring that this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this resolution, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Barton.
I move for the adoption of this resolution under suspension of the rules in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Mr. Orzek, I think you're probably the one most appropriate to answer the question about how we're making Perkins whole in this process.
Yeah, so this is the final stage of the annexation. Really, all it is doing is the commission's accepting the annexed parcels from Perkins Township into the city. As you recall, we have come to an agreement with Perkins Township over a period of time. We're going to make Perkins Township whole on their property taxes. It was $38,000 some dollars. I can't remember the exact total. And those parcels are a portion of the indoor sports complex, portions of the outdoor sports facility, and then a portion of the property east of there that's not developed at this point. So those are the 4 parcels that the commission's already approved, Perkins Township's approved, and it has nothing to do with the landing project.
Thank you, Mr. Orzek. Comments or questions, Commissioner? Ms. Myers, you call the roll on that motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coontz?
Yes.
And now on the resolution.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coontz?
Yes.
That resolution is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 2, please.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to purchase 2 Hustler X1 60-inch rear discharge Kawasaki motors and 2 Hustler X1 60-inch side discharge Kawasaki mowers from the Baker Vehicle Systems of Macedonia, Ohio, for the Grounds Maintenance Division and the Code Compliance Division, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Mr. Whirling, I have a question. I don't expect you to know the answer to this. If you do, I will be stunned and thrilled. Why is there about $600 difference between the 2 mowers we're buying for code and the 2 mowers we're buying for ground? They giving them more bags, or?
Is the accessories attached with them? There's a rear discharge option or a side discharge option. And
I am both stunned and thrilled. Honestly, I can't believe you would know that. And this is unrehearsed. I didn't ask you beforehand, did I? Okay. You may sit down. Thank you. Additional comments or questions? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on the motion.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coontz?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coontz?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, present item number 3, please.
It is requested an ordinance be passed authorizing and directing the city manager to purchase a new Toro Greensmaster 3150Q mower from Jerry Pate Turf and Irrigation Incorporated of Twinsburg, Ohio, through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program for the Mills Golf Course, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Coons?
move for approval of this ordinance under item 3, under suspension of the rules and pursuant to Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
A motion and a second discussion. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 4, please.
It is requested an ordinance be passed declaring 5 sets of diving unlimited international dry suits, model TLSPS, as unnecessary and unfit for city use pursuant to Section 25 of the city charter, authorizing and directing the city manager to purchase 5 new full encapsulation dry suits with miscellaneous gear from Diving Unlimited International Incorporated of San Diego, California, through the U.S. General Services Administration Cooperative Purchasing Program for the Fire Department, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this ordinance, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Murray.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance pursuant to Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion. Chief, reading the background on this purchase, I understand that the suits we have now are 20 years old and they leak water.
Yes.
They would now be termed wetsuits and not dry suits.
Yeah, they're partially wetsuits now, yes.
And-
When we first started diving in the late 90s, we were using wetsuits.
And are 5 enough? I mean, it seems like an interesting number.
The
You
ones we're
stage them around
replacing
different-
this year from 2005, I do have budgeted for next year to purchase some newer versions that we have currently that have a little bit more time left.
And staging, do we put them in the 3 different stations?
No, they all are stationed downtown on our dive trailer.
Okay.
So if we have to, unfortunately, we use them most of the time if we have a body recovery.
To go with the trailer.
For somebody that drowns in the lake. So that's all stationed at Station 1 in our scuba diving trailer.
And my last question is availability. Is this something we're going to buy and get it years from now, or is that something we're going to buy and get it now?
You mean, how long are these going to last? Is that what you're?
No, I'm talking about how long is it going to take to physically get the product?
That I'm not sure exactly how long it's going to take them to get here.
I'm kind of referring to what we've experienced with vehicles. We pass ordinances to buy things, and then we end up passing another ordinance to get them somewhere else because they're not available. Presumably, these are going to be available.
I do not know how long they're going to take to get them. I did not actually look at that before I came to this meeting.
Okay. Should I ask?
They did not say that there was any sort of delay in getting them when we sought the estimates.
Good.
So.
Great, thanks. Additional comments or questions, Commissioner? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Wantington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ms. Myers, you present item number 5.
It is requested a resolution be passed declaring the necessity for the city to proceed with the proposed West Monroe Street resurfacing project, approving the specifications and engineer's estimate of costs thereof, and directing the city manager to advertise for and receive bids in relation thereto, and declaring that this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this resolution, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Crable.
I move approval of this ordinance in compliance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Comments or questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, was that a resolution or?
That is a
resolution.
Yeah, resolution.
We'll state that as a resolution. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I did have one question for Mr. Snyder. I called and left it on Mr. Klein's phone, but I didn't realize he wasn't here today. So I look at the breakdown of the cost, and I see where ODOT's coming in with $290,000 of it and some change. Do they own that road?
No.
Okay.
No, this funding was through the MPO. We obtained 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Hence the title. For consistency, it's called resurfacing project. But from the beginning, we've had a storm sewer involved in it. ODOT doesn't participate in paying for said sewer, which is why we have $500,000 coming out of sewer funds to pay for the sewer portion of it.
Yeah, my only question was going to be, and you sat around that table in the early days of the MPO, and when ODOT would come in for some money, people would say, well, they own that road, they should pay 100%, but since they don't own it, I guess it's not relative.
No, it's federal aid route, so it's eligible for the ODOT dollars, though. Yeah.
Well, at least they're participating, and I appreciate that.
And Mr. Snyder, that's from Broadway to Camp? Is that the?
Broadway to Camp, correct. So the sewer-wise, this is an extension of what we put in last winter. We put a 36-inch in from Broadway to Mills Creek, taking all of that road runoff, all of that clear water, rainwater, snow melt directly to the creek. Same thing, we pick up at Broadway with 30-inch, and as we go to the east toward Camp, it becomes down to a 15-inch at Camp Street. So we take all of that road runoff for a half mile of road and intersections down to Mills Creek now. Instead of it going to the plant, getting processed, using chemicals, this is all going back to a waterway.
Big savings, big savings.
Yeah. Long-term should save a lot for treatment costs, especially during big rain events.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Additional comments or questions, Commissioner? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
And now on the resolution.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
That resolution is passed. That concludes our regular agenda. We'll turn to our city manager for his report.
Good evening, Commissioners, audience, and staff. I have two things from REC. One is we'd like to thank the St. Mary's Central Catholic Schools and their students for volunteering on October 10th during their Fall Service Day. Students worked with greenhouse staff, volunteering their time at the greenhouse and throughout downtown. I think they paid in some fire hydrants for the fire department as well. So thanks to them for that. Sandusky Rec would I'd like a motion to receive a donation of $246.94 from the Sandusky Christmas Market. The donation will be used for supplies for Sandusky Rec's stall at the Christmas Market.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Without objection, the motion be approved. Hearing no objection, that motion is approved with our thanks.
Public Works, at the Big Island Water Works, their contact switch failed on their HVAC system in the water lab, and the unit needs to be replaced. Staff is requesting a motion to approve emergency expenditure of $12,200 from the water fund so that the unit can be scheduled for replacement and put back into operation immediately in order to meet EPA requirements for lab operations. If I get a motion to approve, and we'll bring back an ordinance at the next meeting.
So moved.
Been a motion and a second. Discussion. Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion, please.
Mr. Crable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington? Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Bajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
That motion is approved.
Okay. The city's proposal for a natural gas aggregation opt-out program is on the ballot for this November's general election, which is known as Issue 2. If approved, this would make the city's natural gas program similar to the city's current electricity program, where all eligible residents are enrolled unless they choose to opt out. This would allow the city to negotiate with natural gas suppliers on behalf of residents to secure better rates. We have information set up on a webpage with more information at www.cityofsandusky.com/gas. If residents have questions, they can call the city manager's office at 419-627-5846. During the next couple of weeks, there will be more congestion within the downtown area as construction projects start. We ask that all vehicular and pedestrian traffic be patient with the contractors while work is being done and adhere to any detour signs. Work on the Columbus Ave streetscape project started today. Vehicular traffic has been taken down to one lane, traveling southbound only, and will remain in place until the completion of the project. Not that street, but different phases. Don't want to freak anybody out, especially Ms. Vargo. The contractor working on roadway resurfacing will begin work in the downtown streets of Jackson and Wayne Street later this week, with roadway milling and new asphalt pavement being placed the following week. Locals are encouraged to use familiar routes around the downtown area. Streets and traffic staff will begin citywide leaf collection in November. Once finalized, the schedule will be posted on the city's website and social media pages. There will be a drop-off area for bagged leaves near the Marquette Drive entrance to the City Service Center starting today. For questions about the city's leaf collection program, call 419-627-5829. Thank you to all the property owners who submitted their water service line inventory survey at www.cityofsandusky.com/waterlines. Of the 473 results, only 17 had lead lines and 78 galvanized. The other 374 were copper or plastic. The Sandusky Transit System will hold public hearings October 29th at 11 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. at Sandusky City Hall, 240 Columbus Ave. The purpose of the hearings is to inform attendees of transit service changes to the Yellow Line fixed route, fare increases, and modification of transit system hours of operation effective January 1st, 2025. More information on the proposed changes is available by contacting Transit Administrator James Stacy at 419-627-5715 or J. Stacy, it's Stacey, at cityofsandusky.com. And lastly, I want to notify the commission and the public. The commission approved ordinance 23-165. That was a money that was earmarked for the construction of the State Theater. And at the time, the city made the first payment of $500,000 to the State Theater. The construction was supposed to be complete December 31st of 2024. And in the agreement, I have the ability to extend the timeline. So I plan on extending that timeline with commission support to December 31st of 2025 to allow them to get their project completed, and just wanted to make the commission public aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. Orzak. Additional comments or questions for the city manager? Now we'll go to items of old business. Any items of old business? No items of old business. Any items of new business?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Coons.
I got a few items to address. One, this came to mind because I mentioned the Civic Index, and that was something that came up. A presentation was given by Mr. Marcus Harris, and I think it's a really useful tool and one that we should engage our citizens in using. And I think he might be here. Is it okay for him to explain when he gave that presentation, or should I just go into a little more detail? He has all the information.
I think it's appropriate for you to just tell us what.
Okay. So the Civic Engagement Index is a way to kind of engage the citizens, but also to measure their civic participation. It's an opportunity, and I have some information here. Basically says to establish a baseline understanding of civic engagement, highlight our community strengths, and identify areas of need as well. So it's just something that the Community Relations Commission, we could engage in. I know that that particular body, I am the liaison for their body. It's also something that I think would be really useful for citizens to, come forward and be a part of it. in the process of about maybe 3 or 4 meetings before we have our next Community Relations Commission meeting, we could engage them, find out what their concerns are, also just talk about civic engagement. And then bring that to, they might have some recommendations to bring forward to the City Commission as a result of those conversations. So that's what that's about. And,
Sure, thank you. Additional items of new business.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Murray.
If I may, I see Mr. Marcus at the back of the room. I would be interested in reviewing that, so I wonder if you might share that with the commission so we can, so those who are curious could take a look too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. One of you see, just do a distribution to commission, would be great. Perfect. I have a couple of housekeeping items under new business. I will ask for a motion to set a public hearing for a zone map amendment at 518 Jackson Street on November the 12th, at our meeting of November the 12th. May I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second discussion? Ms. Myers, you hold the commission on that motion.
Mr. Grable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
yes.
That public hearing is set. I need an additional motion to set another public hearing for a zone map amendment for a portion of a parcel at Ferndale Drive, east of Cold Creek Boulevard for November the 12th, our meeting at November the 12th. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second discussion? Ms. Myers, you poll the commission on that motion.
Mr. Grable?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes,
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Pajali?
Yes.
Mr. Coons?
Yes.
that public hearing is set. Any additional items of new business? Mr. Crable.
Two kind of fun things. One, for the public, if at sunset or shortly thereafter you look west in the sky, you will see a comet. It's called a and I'll get this pronunciation totally wrong, but Shu-Chinshan Atlas comet. It was first discovered in January of last year, and will be visible basically in the western skies, as I said, at or shortly after sunset this week. And secondly, go Guardians.
Yeah. We'll find out soon.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Additional items of new business.
Mr. Chair, I got
Mr.
a couple more. I was asked to find out whether or not we actually have one of the commissioners to present the proclamation to the NAACP at the Freedom Fund. I won't be able to make it, so I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. And I'm not aware of, somebody was reached to actually read that proclamation. So that's one.
Ms. Myers, we have a request for that proclamation?
I submitted it to them, and they print it in their booklet each year, but they did not want someone to present it this year.
Oh, they did not want, okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Additional items of new business?
One more.
Yes, sir.
One more. One of the questions that comes up among residents is, the funding for the State Theater because there are delays. And one of the questions I had, and I felt compelled to ask it, is when we're at this place where it's delayed, I remember going to visit the State Theater when they were under construction just to see what would be happening there. And I was told at that time when I went to see it that it would be completed by the end of June. Now, I know things happen, particularly with donors and fundraising, and then the added cost that might come up, right, with regard to construction. But I'm curious to know, what we can do to ensure or find out just how far down the road will this project really be completed? How can we know? How can we be assured of that? How can we be assured that there won't be as many delays that we anticipated? And that's something that if anybody wants to, maybe the veteran commissioners can give us your thoughts, give me some insight, I'd appreciate it.
I personally have no inside knowledge as to the answer to any of those questions. I think most of us are in a wait-and-see position right at the moment. And I think with any kind of a construction project, certainly with one of, in the $25 or $30 million range, there are going to be bumps in the road. I think that's perhaps what we're looking at now. And I believe they're in the process of sorting that out, but I have no inside information on the facts or figures.
Okay.
And I would just add, Colleen Shea Murray, who will be speaking to us momentarily, may have some insights to share on that. And we have one of our employees who's at least part of the board there, so that we might be able to get some feedback. Probably not tonight, but at some point in the future. So,
If there are no additional items of new business, we'll move to the public portion, public comments on any item that pertains to city business.
West Pool, 1939 East Aldgate. With regard to the parking study that we saw, it was interesting data, and they did spend a lot of time on it. I took note of Mr. Bajali and recognizing that it's not something you want to debate the data with them. It's good to see that you're working with data. I would suggest that this program, this is about two different points of view. The experts on one side who have presented that people will walk 5 minutes or a quarter of a mile to go to business. And the business owners, many of which you've said, who their data is from dealing directly with the customers, who do not believe that that's the case. I would suggest that the data we've received from the staff that you make your decisions on is fine. We are now able, because you have taken the parking off of Columbus Ave, to simply go and ask the businesses what their experience is, because I think that's the only data that matters. The speculation that people are subject to walk 5 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever it is just that, speculation. Someplace in the United States, somebody did a study, and they found in their city, whether it was Seattle or whatever, that folks were willing to walk to their businesses for 5 minutes. That's really what has been presented up to now for you to make a decision on. For whatever reason, you've decided that that's the expert decision, the expert position you'll follow, as opposed to what's coming from the actual business owners in downtown Sandusky. I would suggest that we can have accurate data that applies to Sandusky by simply, over the next 2 weeks, ask the businesses downtown what their experience is. Because those are the only folks that seem to be concerned. If you live out on the front, if you have a business on the fringes of downtown where nobody's parking anyway, those businesses can do well if they have a good product, no question about it. But you need to recognize, I think you can answer this question in the next 2 to 3 weeks by simply asking staff to go to the businesses and ask them what their experience is. Are people parking 5 minutes away to still come to the businesses that they've been coming to for years? I guess I also had a question about the dealing with the rec center. Just in general, data, are we gathering data who's going to go to this? I looked at that, and it's made for everyone. They're going to make everybody happy, all those different areas. The question is spending $15 million on another building, and that's the only thing I'm concerned with, not what they're planning. Who's going to do that? You had a limited number of time limits for each one of those segments that were going to use it. Those activities are already going on all across town. We have gyms all around town. It costs $10 a month to go to Planet Fitness. The Zumba and various classes can be done anywhere. If you have they have a great room that you can do exercises in at the senior center already. And I just want to say, you need to do some study. Just give us some idea that it is worth who you expect to go to this. Is really what I'm looking to. How big is this group? Because I don't want to spend $15 million on a building, find out that yes, these are nice programs, but we could have done this in the existing buildings that we have around town. We have enough empty buildings as it is, and that's the only thing I'm concerned about with regard to that. State Theater, yes, we should continue to support them. A blanket today, before we know anything about it, that you're going to commit us another year seems to be a bit much. obviously we should commit to trying to do this, but seems early on before we're making a commitment like that, and we don't even know what's going to happen. So just a thought on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poole. Additional comments from the public on any item that pertains to city business? This is your time.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thanks for
A
waiting.
little rusty.
Yeah.
Colleen Shea Murray, 1121 Sheltered Brook Drive in Huron, but I'm here on behalf of the Sandusky State Theater. And if I may, I'd just like to present a release that we sent to the Sandusky Register, and I will then leave with Kathy for all of you. This was released on October 10th, 2024. After 4 years of dedicated restoration and unprecedented community effort, the Sandusky State Theater is in the final stages of the largest natural disaster recovery project in the history of Erie County. The restoration repairs damage from the devastating 2020 storm and modernizes the nearly century-old building, ensuring that it will continue to be a cornerstone of the community for the next 100 years. On June 10th, 2020, an unexpected storm tore through our region, as you all know, severely damaging the Sandusky State Theater. Within 30 minutes of the storm's end, the theater's dedicated team began emergency repairs, operating with an already reduced staff due to COVID-19. With support from this city, the community, expert guidance, and a steadfast commitment to preserving history, they initiated a long and challenging path to restoration. I will add, I joined the Sandusky State Theater Board not until after the storm happened, just a few months after. A century-old legacy restored. The Sandusky State Theater, built in 1928, is now approaching our 100th anniversary before the storm struck. The restoration project has ensured that the theater will remain a cherished cultural hub for future generations. This project requires meticulous restoration of its historical elements, which, although extremely detailed and time-consuming, are essential to the theater. The build also provides the opportunity to integrate modern upgrades to enhance accessibility, safety, and audience experience, and provide additional resources of revenue. This is a quote: "The project has been a journey of resilience, collaboration, and deep appreciation for our shared history," states Kim Redfern, our board chair. "We are thrilled to see this historic landmark reborn and ready to serve the community for another century," end quote. Community-driven recovery. From day one, this community and a team of dedicated experts rallied to save the theater. Recognizing the enormity of the task, the theater took a strategic approach, engaging public input and ensuring multiple layers of oversight throughout the project. The timeline includes, on June 11, 2020, our insurance representatives arrived on site with a disaster relief specialist 1 day after the storm. Later in June 2020, the Sandusky State Theater brought a public adjuster to handle the complex insurance claim and local architectural consultants to independently evaluate the initial phase, adding crucial layers of expertise and oversight. In July of 2020, did I say 2020? Sorry. In July of 2020, Phase 1 work began, focusing on massive cleanup, stabilization, and protecting the building from further damage before winter. January of 2021, Phase 1 was completed on time and under budget, thanks to diligent planning and expertise. Through 2021 and 2022, the theater worked closely with architects, contractors, and public stakeholders to develop a comprehensive plan that balanced historic preservation with modernization needs and a funding strategy to support the plan. This included utilizing state and federal historic tax credits and bringing in the State Historic Preservation Office for additional oversight. Sandusky State Theater was also thrilled to find that we had world-class architects and artisans that specialize in historic building restoration, some of which were located Ohio-based. Our foreman was from Clyde, Ohio, for the actual painting of restoring the beautiful artwork inside the theater itself. Navigating challenges with resilience. Like any other project of this scale, the restoration faced several challenges along the way. Inflation, supply chain disruption, and increased construction costs required constant adaptation and negotiation. In mid-2023, the Sandusky State Theater addressed these cost increases by including a do not exceed clause to protect against escalating expenses. Most recently, in June of 2024, the general contractor reported that costs would exceed the agreed upon limits. The theater board responded swiftly, engaging legal and construction experts to ensure the project can be completed while upholding the highest financial and structural integrity standards. With the Sandusky State Theater's 100th anniversary on the horizon in 2028, this restoration is more than just a repair. It is a testament to what can be achieved when a community comes together. The project will soon reach its final stages, culminating in a grand reopening, highlighting the theater's remarkable history and exciting future. A quote from our current director: "We are incredibly grateful for the patient support and trust of our community through this journey," states Chris Parthomore, Executive Director. The Sandusky State Theater will continue to be a space where memories are made, and we cannot wait to welcome everyone back. This is the end of the release.
Thank you, Ms.
So I want to say we are very grateful for the continued support of the city, of the commission. We understand that there are many questions that we look forward to being able to answer for you, and we understand your frustration that those answers cannot be forthcoming while there are legal communications going on currently.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Greetings, everyone. Tom Lamarca, 206 48th Street. I didn't know that we were going to have a presentation about the State Theater, but I'm glad it was brought up. Someone apparently was not watching what was going on when you put the electric utilities that are going to service the State Theater on someone else's property. That's a major blunder. When you bring a piece of iron that's supposed to be a main beam, structural beam that isn't properly measured, that has to go back to a factory and start from ground one, that's someone else that's not doing their job on a $30 million project. The city has committed $500,000, then most recently committed another $1 million, I believe, to the State Theater. Something's wrong there, obviously, and now they're going to be a year behind schedule. I toured it twice and kept hearing the promises of shows coming, and get out your pocketbook and make a donation. What happened there? I was expecting to go to a show relatively soon. I know it was guaranteed by the end of the year. Well, it wasn't guaranteed because, of course, who knows what. But that's my kick on that. The stimulus funds, at a previous meeting, I asked what is left of our federal stimulus funds from the COVID deal that has not been pledged or promised to anyone, and I've not gotten an answer. So I'm going to ask this question: are we saving the stimulus funds for the State Theater shortage? I certainly hope not, and I would ask that you don't give them another dime beyond the $1.5 million that you've invested or committed to. I'm a long life member of the Sandusky community, and I've seen a lot of money wasted in this community. The State Theater is supposed to be our gem, and all of a sudden it's not. We have roughly 76 to 78 days left to award the grants out of the stimulus dollars, and if anything has not been committed for then or dedicated to a particular project, then we forfeit it back to the government. So where do we stand on that? I know there are businesses out there that are in need of grants, in need of money. they don't seem to get the attention. If there's a new business that needs to come in to get a grant, then I'll find someone to bring in a little business and we'll throw them $300,000. How's that? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Larkin.
Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. This evening, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Venice Road, Sandusky Bay Pathway. Some of us hate social media. I tend to love it, but there's another message on social media that another one has bit the dust, and that refers to a mailbox on Venice Road right on the curve for the Sandusky Bay Pathways. There was a comment by one of the individuals that live at that curve. It says mailboxes will be replaced time and time again because of poor pathway design, and what will happen if the next accident is a pedestrian. This body here has the authority to direct the city manager or Public Works to take another in-depth look at that portion of the pathway. I encourage you to do that. Another witness on that curve witnessed that a driver actually passed a turning vehicle by using the bike path. That's insane. It's unacceptable. My second item is the parking study that was presented earlier. I think that the planning department head gave a good case for the need of not constructing a new parking garage. If we have buku parking places that are open every day of the week, every time during the week, do we need to have the expense of another parking garage? Now, I know you all know this, that our parking garage that we have now was designed to actually add another floor. Let's take a look at that, quite possibly. One last comment, and this is going to be directed towards the city manager and also the media manager. The transit public hearing notice belongs on Facebook, on the city's Facebook page. The two presentations tonight, a link belongs on Facebook. I would like to know what kind of traffic we have from the residents on our website versus social media. And if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I would bet that there's more people in Sandusky paying attention to Facebook than what there is our website. Thank you.
Only comment, Mr. Schwanger, will have is that your statement about parking garage being in a position to add another floor is totally incorrect. We've already exhausted that search with architects and engineers, and it absolutely will not sustain structurally, it will not sustain another floor.
Okay, that's new to me, because I've heard over and over and over again at several meetings that that was built for another additional level if we need so. As a matter of fact, I would have to go back and look at some of the meeting minutes from the Bayfront Corridor Committee, where the committee asked the engineer whether or not we could do that, and the answer was yes. So thank you.
Additional comments from the audience on any item pertaining to city business? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.